At the welcome home dinner, the adopted daughter, Gu Jiao, whispered in my ear, "The Gu family only needs one daughter. You're just a redundant country bumpkin." I thought she was right. I turned and ran into the traffic at the intersection. My family was scared out of their minds. It took all their coaxing and pleading to pull me back. My brother's face was ashen. He warned me not to make the adopted daughter angry again. I nodded obediently, then turned on the gas late that night, leaving a suicide note. "It's my fault for making my sister unhappy. I'm going to take the whole family to paradise with me, then there will be no more worries." The way my whole family looked at me, it was as if they'd seen a ghost. Later, at a party, the adopted daughter and her little friends pushed me into the pool. But I didn't struggle. I just let my body slowly sink to the bottom. Gu Jiao had no choice but to jump in frantically and pull me out. "Idiot, if you had really drowned, Mom and Dad would hate me. Couldn't you have struggled a little?" What she didn't know was that I had fought back before, but all it got me were repeated, miserable deaths. This was my 10th rebirth. This time, I was determined to die. The chlorinated water in the pool soaked my stomach, causing a searing pain. My brother pulled me out. I lay by the edge of the pool, spitting out water, barely breathing. Gu Jiao's face turned white as a sheet. Her friends panicked too, chattering all at once to explain themselves. "We were just joking with you." Yeah, who knew she'd jump in on her own? Who drowns without moving a muscle? Is she trying to blackmail us? I wrapped myself in the suit jacket my brother, Gu Yanmo, had taken off and climbed out of the pool. I was shivering from the cold, my teeth chattering, but I still managed to force a smile as I looked at Gu Jiao. "Sister, you told me to get in, so I got in. I listened to you." My stare sent a chill down Gu Jiao's spine. She took a few steps back, as if she were looking at some kind of monster. "What nonsense are you talking about? When did I ever tell you to get in?" She was on the verge of tears, turning to our parents who had rushed over. "Dad, Mom don't believe her, she's crazy. Gu Zioyu is just trying to frame me." Our parents looked grim, frowning as they sized up my drenched form. A girl in a designer gown stepped forward and said bravely, "She jumped in herself. We tried to save her, but she wouldn't come out." I peeked out from behind Gu Yanmo, my face a mask of innocence. I wasn't refusing to come out. It's just that whatever sister tells me to do, I have to do it perfectly, or she'll be unhappy. If sister is unhappy, brother will be unhappy, and Mom and Dad will be unhappy too. I looked at them and asked with earnest eyes, "So what do I have to do to make you all happy?" A dead silence fell over the crowd. Everyone was looking at me like I was a lunatic. Gu Yanmo's body went rigid. He grabbed my arm, his grip terrifyingly strong. "Gu Zioyu, shut up." Dad snapped at the butler, "Take the young miss back to her room. Call a doctor to examine her." Then he turned to Gu Jiao, his gaze unusually stern. Jiao, you come with me too." Gu Jiao had always been the apple of the family's eye. They could never bear to speak harshly to her. She was startled, and tears finally fell, streaming down her beautiful face. "Dad, it really wasn't me." Looking at the grim expressions on my family's faces, I just felt exhausted. "What on earth do I have to do to make you happy?" Gu Jiao's puppy went missing, so I was made to wear a collar, eat dog food, and sleep in a kennel, becoming her new plaything. She wanted to go camping with friends, but she stuffed me into a sealed sleeping bag and kicked me down a hillside. My head and body slammed into sharp rocks, the pain so intense it turned to numb suffocation. Looking at my twisted, broken body, she just curled her lip condescendingly. "Looks like the quality of this sleeping bag is pretty bad. I'm giving the seller a negative review." Good thing my little sister tested it for me. This time, I no longer resisted Gu Jiao's torment. "Mom, Dad, brother, why are you still not happy?" After the doctor finished his examination, Mom came in with a glass of warm milk and sat by my bed. She looked at me, her expression complicated. "Zioyu, tell Mom. Do you really hate this family?" I shook my head. "I don't hate it." "Then why do you do those things? Why do you keep hurting yourself?" I held the warm milk, taking small sips, and answered her earnestly. "I just want to make everyone happy." Mom's eyes immediately reddened. "You're my own daughter. You don't have to please anyone." I put down the glass and looked up at her. But after I came home, sister wasn't happy and brother wasn't happy. "Mom, was it a mistake for you to find me?" My question left Mom speechless. She could only reach out and hug me. "No, Zioyu, you're not a mistake." Her embrace was warm, but it reminded me of a previous life. Gu Jiao had cut her own hand with a knife and fallen into Mom's arms, crying. The look Mom gave me was cold. She locked me in the dark storage room, allowing Gu Jiao to turn on the gas valve, forcing me to reflect until I wouldn't hurt my sister again. Back then, I didn't understand what I had done wrong. I just wanted to survive and have everyone like me. Now, I only want to die. And Mom is calling me her precious daughter. The next day, the family held a meeting. Gu Jiao had cried all night, her eyes swollen like walnuts. She sobbed. I really didn't push her. I was just scared. Scared that when she came back, you wouldn't want me anymore. My brother, Gu Yanmo, felt a pang of sympathy and immediately defended her. Mom, Jiao didn't do it on purpose. She's just insecure. Look at Gu Zioyu. She's only been back a few days, and she's turned the house upside down. He pointed at me, his face full of disgust. She's not normal at all. Dad rubbed his temples and sighed helplessly. This can't go on. Let's find a psychologist for Zioyu. She needs proper counseling. On the day of the appointment, I was very cooperative. I answered whatever the doctor asked. Why are you always thinking about dying? I sat on the soft sofa, swinging my legs. Because it's the easiest way to make all the problems disappear. The doctor adjusted his glasses and tried to guide me. But have you ever thought that if you die, the people who love you will be very sad? I blinked and asked curiously, love me? Like the matron at the orphanage, who said she loved me while watching the other kids beat me? Or like the trafficker, who called me his good daughter while stuffing me into a dog cage? Or like my brother, who warns me not to upset his beloved sister, but only pulls me out of the water when I'm about to drown? I leaned closer to the doctor and whispered, Doctor, they don't love me. They're just afraid my dying in their house will cause them trouble. They think I'm sick and need to be cured. But I'm not sick, I'm just listening to them. To make them happy, I do whatever they tell me to do. If they want me to die, then I'll just die. Is that not okay either? The doctor's hand, holding the pen, froze in midair. His face was pale. The psychologist relayed every single word I said to my parents. His final diagnosis was, I wasn't sick. I was just using an extreme method to protect myself and retaliate against the world. My mental state was like a string stretched to its breaking point. Any more pressure could make it snap completely. Seeking death was the best way I had to protect myself. After hearing this, Mom locked herself in her room for a whole day. Dad chain smoked one cigarette after another. Only my brother, Gu Yanmo, still believed I was playing pitiful to gain sympathy. Gu Zioyu is just acting. You've all been fooled by her. She just wants to drive Jiao away. Gu Jiao hid behind my brother, looking at me timidly, but a hint of triumph was hidden in her eyes. Dad, Mom, don't worry. I'll get along with my sister and help her get better. She probably thought that as long as my brother still believed her, she was invincible. The atmosphere at home grew increasingly oppressive. To ease the tension, my parents decided to send me to the same elite school as Gu Jiao and Gu Yanmo. They naively thought that integrating me into a normal peer environment might improve the situation. Gu Jiao was the first to object. Her eyes widened, and she couldn't help but scream. I don't want to go to the same school as her. My classmates will laugh at me. For the first time, Dad spoke to her in a stern tone. This is not up for discussion. Gu Jiao ran back to her room in a huff, but I knew she wouldn't let it go that easily. Sure enough, on my first day, I became the center of attention, because everyone had heard the rumor. The true daughter of the Gu family, the one they'd just found, was a lunatic fresh out of a mental hospital. Gu Jiao was always surrounded by a group of people, fawning over her and then pointing fingers at me. Jiao, your sister looks so weird, so gloomy. I heard she tried to turn on the gas to kill the whole family. Isn't that insane? You should be careful, don't let her hurt you. Gu Jiao would put on a tearful expression. Don't say that, my sister, she's just sick. The more she defended me like this, the more terrifying everyone thought I was. Ostracism followed naturally. No one spoke to me. A line was drawn in chalk around my desk, and ink was spilled on my books. I didn't care. Compared to what I went through at the orphanage, this was child's play. During gym class, the teacher let us have free time. The class sports representative assigned me to get basketballs from the equipment room. But as soon as I stepped inside, the door clicked shut and locked behind me. The room was plunged into darkness. I could hear the giggles of Gu Jiao and her friends from outside. Lunatics should be locked up. How could they let her out of the hospital? Jiao, do you think she'll go crazy and bite herself in there? Ha, maybe. Why don't you open a crack in the door and take a look? No way. There were still 40 minutes until the end of class. All I had to do was sit here and wait. The darkness and the confined space gave me a long-lost sense of security. I even started to feel drowsy. After some time, An impatient voice came from outside the door. "Hey, lunatic in there, are you dead yet? Make a sound if you're not dead." I ignored her. A moment later, the voice called out again, this time with a hint of panic. Why isn't she making any noise? Did something really happen? What's there to be afraid of? Even if something happens, I'll still take care of Mom and Dad when they're old. It was Gu Jiao's voice. Let her figure out how to break the door down herself. Let's go. The footsteps faded away. I closed my eyes, ready for a good nap. Suddenly, a pungent, choking smell filled the air. Smoke. The fire spread quickly. In less than 3 minutes, the thick smoke made it impossible to breathe. The entire equipment room felt like a giant oven. I didn't call for help, nor did I try to break down the door. I just hugged a basketball and curled up in the corner farthest from the door. My consciousness began to fade. This is great. I can finally succeed this time. No jumping off buildings, no turning on the gas, no being pulled out of the water. Just quietly, without troubling anyone. Once I get through this cycle, I can finally leave this body and be reincarnated. This scarred body, these wrists broken countless times, these calves covered in burn marks. I won't have to live such a painful, pleasing life anymore. Just as I was about to lose consciousness, the door was kicked open with a loud bang. A figure rushed in against the flames and scooped me up from the floor. It was Gu Yanmo. He was covered in soot, his face etched with anxiety and fear. "Gu Zaiyu, wake up." He carried me and ran out of the sea of fire. The lawn outside was already crowded with people. When Gu Jiao and her friends saw me being rescued, the expressions on their faces were a sight to behold. Shock, guilt, and a faint, imperceptible trace of disappointment. I was placed on the grass, greedily breathing in the fresh air. Gu Yanmo knelt in front of me, asking in a tone more nervous than I'd ever heard. "How are you? Are you hurt anywhere?" I looked at him, clutching my chest and coughing violently. "Brother, you saved me again." I looked at him coldly, but my voice was filled with sincere regret. "Why did you save me? I was so close to dying." Gu Yanmo's face turned ashen. He grabbed my shoulders, almost roaring. "Why didn't you call for help? Why didn't you break the door? Do you really want to die? Gu Zaiyu, what the hell are you trying to do?" I didn't answer him. Instead, I looked at Gu Jiao in the crowd. She immediately jumped, as if her tail had been stepped on. "It wasn't me. I didn't start the fire. I don't know how it started." Her friends chimed in. "We left a long time ago. It has nothing to do with us. Gu Zaiyu was the one who went to get the basketballs. We just took her to the equipment room." Just then, the head of security ran over, panting, and reported to the school administration. "We found the cause. It was a short circuit from old wiring in the equipment room. Just an accident." Everyone breathed a sigh of relief. Gu Jiao let out an even bigger sigh, immediately reverting to her pitiful, innocent act. "Zaiyu, I'm so glad you're okay. It's all our fault. We shouldn't have played that kind of joke on you, making you get the equipment by yourself." As she spoke, she reached for my hand. I pulled away. It was the instinctive flinch of someone who had been abused. In front of everyone, for the first time, I began to cry hysterically. "Sister, I'm sorry. I should have stayed in there, but I don't like the dark room. Next time, can you pick a different way for me to die? Please." The crowd of onlookers erupted. People started whispering, speculating about my and Gu Jiao's status at home. They suddenly realized that our relationship and the way we interacted had never been equal. Could it be what I'm thinking? The adopted daughter dares to abuse the real one. My God, I never would have guessed. No wonder Gu Zaiyu is so obedient to her. Gu Jiao clenched her fists, trying helplessly to explain. But hardly anyone was listening. Mom and Dad rushed back from the company that night. The moment they walked in, they saw the three of us in a standoff in the living room. Me, Gu Yanmo, and Gu Jiao, who was trembling like a leaf. What on earth happened? Why did the school catch fire? Gu Yanmo glanced at Gu Jiao, then at my expressionless face. His lips moved, but in the end, he said nothing. It was Gu Jiao who threw herself into Mom's arms, sobbing breathlessly. "Mom, Gu Zaiyu is crazy. She wants to kill me. She said so herself." Mom held her, comforting her softly, but her gaze fell coldly on me. I ignored their performance and walked straight to Dad. The fire at school was an accident, but locking me in the equipment room was not. I lifted my head and looked him straight in the eye. "Dad, haven't you always wanted to know what I've been through?" In a place just as small and dark as that equipment room, I was locked up for 3 whole years. The food was spoiled. My job every day was to go out and steal. If I didn't steal enough, I'd be beaten. If I cried out, they'd stuff razor blades in my mouth. The man who taught us the rules, His favorite game was to lock one of us in the dark room and have the others guess how many days we could last. I recounted this calmly, as if telling someone else's story. In the living room, even the sound of breathing had stopped. Dad's face went from ashen to deathly pale. He swayed slightly. Mom covered her mouth, her eyes filling with tears. Gu Yanmo's fists were clenched so tight his knuckles cracked. He stared at me, his eyes filled with a shock and pain I had never seen before. I turned to Gu Jiaojiao and said without expression, "So, sister, your game isn't funny to me at all. It reminds me of a lot of unhappy things. And when I'm unhappy," I gave her a brilliant smile, "I want everyone to be unhappy with me." My smile made Gu Jiaojiao shudder, and she let out a scream. "Enough!" Dad's roar cut off her scream. He pointed at Gu Jiaojiao, his voice filled with unprecedented disappointment and anger. "Gu Jiaojiao, go to your room and think about what you've done. You're not to come out without my permission." Gu Jiaojiao looked at Dad in disbelief, then turned to Mom and my brother for help. Mom looked away, and Gu Yanmo just stood there in silence. For the first time, no one spoke up for her. The farce ended with Gu Jiao being grounded. After the school fire and the grounding incident, Mom began to investigate my past. She used all her connections, starting from the small county where I was abducted. A few days later, a thick file folder was placed on her desk. Inside was the entire trajectory of my life, from age 3 to 16. It included the case file on the human trafficking ring that had abducted me. The file detailed their inhuman crimes, and a name highlighted in particular, Aichi. The report said that Aichi was the smallest and quietest of the children, but she was also the only one who, after being rescued, could clearly draw the ringleader's face and a map of their hideout. It was thanks to the clues she provided that the police were able to dismantle the criminal gang that had plagued the area for years. That Aichi was me. After reading all the materials, Mom sat in the study all night. The first thing she did was dismiss all the household staff and replace them with a team of professional security personnel. The second thing was to personally go to my school and apply for a leave of absence for me. She said, "Until my daughter is truly well, I will not allow her to suffer any more harm." Dad didn't object. Gu Yanmo was also unusually silent. Gu Jiaojiao was confined to her room, seeing no one except for when meals were delivered. For the first time, this family had built an iron fortress for my sake. I watched Mom's bustling figure, feeling no ripple in my heart. I knew it was just guilt, a trivial compensation, 13 years too late. She wanted my forgiveness. Compared to my repeated deaths, this compensation was far too light. Gu Yanmo no longer sneered at me. He would silently bring me cut fruit or cover me with a blanket when I was reading. He was trying to make amends, cautiously and clumsily. I was painting in the garden when Gu Yanmo came and sat down beside me. He looked at my canvas, which was covered in a mass of twisted, dark red colors. He was silent for a long time before he finally managed to speak. "Xiao, I'm sorry." I ignored him and continued to smear paint on the canvas. "I didn't know you." I stopped my brush and turned to look at him. "You didn't know what? That I was kept in a dog cage, or that I was burned with cigarettes." I rolled up my sleeve, revealing the old, ugly scars on my arm. Look, these scars had faded, but Gu Jiaojiao cut them open again with glass. Now they're fresh wounds. The color drained from Gu Yanmo's face. He reached out, as if to touch the scars, his fingers trembling uncontrollably. His Adam's apple bobbed, but he couldn't get a single word out. I pulled my arm back and picked up my brush again. "Brother, I've received your apology, but I don't accept it. Because if apologies worked, what would we need the police for?" I looked at his pale face and said softly, "If a murderer apologizes, can the dead come back to life?" Gu Yanmo froze as if struck by lightning. Gu Jiaojiao was confined for half a month. During that time, she went from crying and refusing to eat to being silent and obedient. She thought that as long as she behaved, Mom and Dad would soften. Unfortunately, she had miscalculated this time. Mom was determined to teach her a lesson. Finally, Gu Jiaojiao couldn't take it anymore. She used a hidden piece of porcelain to cut her wrist. It wasn't deep, but it was enough to throw the family into chaos again. She was sent to the hospital. Lying in the hospital bed, Gu Jiaojiao cried weakly. "Mom, I was really wrong. Don't abandon me. I'll never do it again. I'll listen to everything you say. Please don't send me away." There was no sympathy in Mom's eyes, only cold disappointment. "Jiao, do you remember the day you came to our family?" Gu Jiaojiao froze. "You were just like this that day. Small and thin, holding my hand, saying you would be good and obedient. We believed you. We treated you as our own daughter, pouring all our love and guilt for Zayao onto you. But what about you? Mom shook her hand off. You learned to lie, to act, to bully your own sister. You used our love as capital for your reckless behavior. Gu Jiao, you have disappointed me so much. With that, Mom turned and left without a second glance. Gu Jiao completely panicked. She struggled to get out of bed, but was held down by Gu Yanmo. Brother, help me plead with Mom. Gu Yanmo looked down at her, his expression complex. Your mistake was using the suffering she endured as a weapon to hurt her. You knew those things were her hell, yet you pushed her back into it time and time again. This was the first time I had ever heard Gu Yanmo speak up for me. Gu Jiao was stunned too. Gu Yanmo cut her off. You were just afraid she would take everything from you, so you decided to destroy her. Have you ever considered that if you were the one found, and Zayao was the adopted child, how would she have treated you? Gu Jiao couldn't answer, because she knew in her heart that if their roles were reversed, my personality would have led me to quietly walk away and give everything back to her. Not scheme and plot like she did. Gu Jiao's suicide stunt, far from winning sympathy, made her lose the last shred of trust. On the day she was discharged, our parents calmly informed her. We have already contacted your birth parents. Gu Jiao's pupils contracted sharply. No, I don't want to go back. They'll beat me to death. She shook her head frantically, her face a mask of pale terror. Dad looked at her and said coldly, "That's your family's business. From this day on, you have nothing more to do with the Gu family." Gu Jiao's birth parents arrived quickly, a middle-aged couple who looked simple and honest, but whose eyes glinted with shrewd calculation. The moment they entered, they bowed and scraped before my parents, their faces fawning. When they saw Gu Jiao, there was no joy of reunion in their eyes, only a naked assessment, as if they were evaluating the value of a piece of merchandise. Oh, my dear-in-laws, what a mess this is. Gu Jiao's biological father wrung his hands. The child is ignorant and has caused you trouble. Mom looked at them coldly. We are no longer in-laws. We called you here today to return your daughter to you. The couple froze for a moment, then plastered even more servile smiles on their faces. Oh no, we're relieved to have Jiao with you. We country folk don't know how to raise children. We're willing to sell her to you completely. The price is negotiable. Bang! Dad slammed his fist on the table, making the teacups jump. Get out. He pointed at the door, veins bulging on his forehead. Take your daughter and get out of here right now. The couple flinched in fear and didn't dare say another word. They grabbed the still crying and struggling Gu Jiao and started dragging her out. Gu Jiao was like a madwoman. She clung to the doorframe, her nails breaking. Dad, Mom, brother, I was wrong. I don't want to go with them. They're monsters. Her pretty face was now twisted and ugly with fear. Soon, the sound of the woman's curses and the man's impatient shouts came from outside. What are you crying for, you jinx? If you weren't so useless, would we have had to make this trip? Hurry up. If we're late, your little brothers and sisters will starve. The voices faded away. The living room was dead silent. Mom finally covered her face and began to sob quietly. Dad leaned back on the sofa, exhausted, looking as if he had aged 10 years in an instant. Gu Yanmo stood by the window, staring motionlessly in the direction Gu Jiao had been dragged. I sat in the corner, watching all of this unfold. I felt no pleasure in revenge, nor any sympathy. I stood up to go back to my room, but Gu Yanmo suddenly turned and called out to me. Zayao. He walked over to me, his red eyes bloodshot, his voice hoarse. She came from that place too, didn't she? I raised an eyebrow. What place? The place you talked about, he said with difficulty. She was one of those children too. I looked at him and suddenly smiled. Brother, are you only just realizing this now? Why do you think Mom and Dad were so coincidental back then, adopting her while they were looking for me? Because she looked like me. Gu Yanmo's face was as white as a sheet of paper. Gu Yanmo had guessed correctly. Gu Jiao was one of the children abducted with me all those years ago. She was a year older than me. Her codename in the group was Zayao Liu. She was smart, good at reading people, and had a sweet mouth, so she had it better than us idiots who only knew how to take a beating. When Mom and Dad followed the clues to that village back then, I had already been taken away. They only found Gu Jiao, locked in a woodshed by her birth parents, beaten half to death. Because of her eyes, which were similar to mine, Mom took pity on her. They paid a sum of money to buy her from her gambling-addicted parents. They poured all their longing and guilt for me onto this substitute. They gave her the best life, spoiling her into a true princess. They never expected to raise an ungrateful wretch. Gu Yanmo looked at me in agony and suddenly dropped to his knees with a thud. I was startled and took a step back. He just kept his head down and said in a tone of near penitence, "Xiao, I'm sorry. Hit me or do whatever you want to get revenge, as long as it makes you feel better." I looked at him and found it somewhat amusing. "Brother, have you gotten something wrong? To me, you're no different from Gu Jiao or any of the others who bullied me. You're all insignificant people, I don't care." I walked around him to go upstairs, but he suddenly reached out and grabbed my ankle. "Xiao, I know my sins are unforgivable, but we're brother and sister. Blood is thicker than water. That's a fact that can't be changed. Please give me another chance, okay? Let me make it up to you." I looked down at the hand gripping me. After a moment of silence, I said, "All right." He shot his head up, a flash of surprise and joy in his eyes. I crouched down to his level, an angelic, pure smile on my face. "You want to make it up to me, right? That's simple." I pointed out the window at the tall plane tree. "Jump from there. As long as you don't die, I'll forgive you." The joy on Gu Yanmo's face froze instantly. After Gu Jiao was sent away, the house became terrifyingly quiet. Mom and Dad tried to compensate me with double the material possessions and affection, but I always felt like an outsider. They took me to the best psychologist, who said my PTSD was severe and required long-term treatment. So every weekend, Gu Yanmo would drive me to my therapy sessions. We never spoke a word to each other on the way. He was like a dutiful chauffeur, and I was a passenger devoid of emotion. One day, after a session, it started pouring rain halfway home. The windshield wipers swished frantically, but they couldn't clear the road ahead. The car stopped at a red light. I happened to glance out the window and saw a familiar figure. It was Gu Jiao. She was holding a tattered umbrella, arguing with a man in front of a convenience store. The man wore a dirty tank top, revealing a menacing snake tattoo on his arm. It was him, the man who taught us to steal and taught us to fear. My blood ran cold. The man seemed impatient. He snatched something from Gu Jiao's hand and gave her a hard shove. Gu Jiao fell pathetically into a puddle, crying her heart out. The man didn't even glance at her before turning and walking away. The light turned green. Gu Yanmo stepped on the gas, and the car moved forward slowly. But I suddenly spoke up. "Stop the car." Gu Yanmo paused, looking at me in the rearview mirror. "What did you say?" I said, "Stop the car." My voice was sharp with agitation. He frowned, but pulled the car over to the side of the road. I unbuckled my seatbelt, pushed the door open, and ran into the curtain of rain. Gu Jiao looked at me as if she'd seen a ghost, struggling to get up. I ignored her and stared in the direction the man had disappeared. "Why is he here?" Gu Jiao was soaked to the bone, shivering, her lips purple. I don't know. What did he want from you?" He told me to go steal something. I refused, so he hit me," she said through her tears. "He took all the money my parents gave me." I looked at her pitiful state, but I felt nothing. Fate is a funny circle. She stole my life, but she also took on my tragic suffering in my place. Just then, Gu Yanmo ran over with an umbrella. He frowned when he saw Gu Jiao on the ground. "Get in the car first." He moved to help her up, but I stopped him. "Don't touch her." I looked at Gu Jiao and said coldly, "This was her choice, wasn't it?" Gu Yanmo froze. The rain blurred my vision, but I could feel the venomous, resentful gaze on my back. I never thought I would see that man again. That night, Gu Yanmo had an important business dinner, and my parents were out of town on a trip. I was home alone. Late at night, a faint noise from downstairs woke me. I walked silently to the second-floor railing and looked down. In the living room, 3 dark figures were rummaging through our things. One of them was the snake-tattooed man I had seen during the day. They were burglars. I didn't scream or call the police. I just quietly went back to my room, locked the door, and dialed a number on my phone. It was Gu Yanmo's. The phone rang for a long time before he answered. It was noisy on his end. "Hello? Brother, there are burglars in the house." I stated it as a simple fact. There was a pause on Gu Yanmo's end, then his hushed, anxious voice came through. "Don't be scared. Hide, I'm coming back right now." "No need." I said, "I just need you to do one thing for me." "What is it?" "Call the police for me," I said softly, looking out the window. "Tell the police there's a home invasion robbery in progress, and the robbers have a gun." Gu Yanmo sucked in a sharp breath. "A gun? Are you sure? Xiaoyu, don't do anything reckless." I hung up, opened my closet, and pulled out a heavy toolbox from the very back. I had asked Mom to buy it for me. It was filled with all sorts of toys. I picked out the one that felt most comfortable in my hand. The three men downstairs had clearly finished with the living room and were about to head upstairs. The snake-tattooed man at the lead looked up and saw me standing at the top of the stairs. He froze for a second, then a cruel smile spread across his face. Well, well, if it isn't Aichi. What a coincidence. I never thought the great Miss Gu would be you. The two lackeys behind him started laughing too. Boss, this girl's grown up to be quite a looker. Maybe, we shouldn't be in such a hurry to leave. The snake-tattooed man licked his lips and walked toward me, one step at a time. Achi, you caused me a lot of trouble back in the day. How are you going to repay me today? I looked at him, my face blank, just as he reached me, and his hand shot out to grab me. I pressed the stun gun in my hand, firmly against his neck. Bzzzt. After a piercing crackle of electricity, the 6-foot-tall man convulsed, foamed at the mouth, and collapsed. The other two lackeys stared, dumbfounded. I brandished the stun gun at them and gave them the same pure, harmless smile I had all those years ago. Who's next? The police and Gu Yanmo arrived at almost the same time. When they broke down the door, this was the scene that greeted them. 3 men were tied together in grotesque positions, thrown in the middle of the living room. Each one was bruised and battered, looking utterly miserable. And I was sitting on the sofa, leisurely sipping a Coke and humming a tune with my feet up. When I saw them come in, I even gave them a polite greeting. You're here. All the police officers stared, dumbfounded at the surreal scene. Gu Yanmo rushed over, grabbed me, and checked me from head to toe. Are you okay? Are you hurt? I shook my head. What could happen to me? They're the ones with the problem. The lead officer finally snapped out of it and walked over, looking at me with admiration. Young lady, you've got some skills. Did you subdue them all by yourself? I nodded. When I called the police, didn't you say they had a gun? Gu Yanmo asked urgently. The officer shook his head. We searched them. No firearms were found. Gu Yanmo was stunned. He turned to look at me, his eyes full of confusion. I winked at him. Oh, I must have been mistaken. It was too dark. The police quickly took the 3 men away. As he was being led out, the snake-tattooed man glared at me, the hatred in his eyes almost tangible. I wasn't afraid at all, because I knew he would never get out in this lifetime. Home invasion, plus his prior record, was enough to keep him locked up until he died of old age. Only Gu Yanmo and I were left in the living room. He looked at the trashed room, then at my calm demeanor. It took him a long time to find his voice. You want to ask why I wasn't scared, right? I stood up and walked over to him. Brother, did you know? Living was so painful. I used to think every day about how I could die. But now, I don't want to die anymore. I looked up into his eyes, my words perfectly clear. Because I've discovered that watching the people who deserve to die disappear from my life, one by one, is much more interesting. Whether it's Gu Jiaojiao or them, everyone who has ever hurt me, I will make them pay the price. Gu Yanmo looked at the cold smile on my face, a smile that didn't belong to someone my age, and he subconsciously took a step back. He finally understood. I wasn't better. I had just found a different way to stay insane. A year later, I received an acceptance letter from a university abroad. Gu Yanmo came to see me off before I left. He handed me a box. Mom and Dad wanted me to give you this. Inside was an anonymous black card and a set of keys. They bought you a house abroad, right next to the campus. I took the items and thanked him. It was the first time since I'd returned that I had said those 2 words to him with sincerity. He was taken aback for a moment, then he smiled, a bitter smile. Zaiyu, live well over there. Forget everything that happened here. I looked at him and smiled too. I can't forget, but I'll try. I'll try to live like a normal person. As the plane took off, I looked out the window at the shrinking city below, my heart at peace. I had been reborn 10 times just to reclaim the 13 years of life that were stolen from me. As for the nightmares of the past, they would never have the chance to appear in my life again. I was no longer the Chi who could only cry and beg for mercy. I am Gu Zaiyu, and I am the Gu Zaiyu who will kick any demon trying to drag me to hell down there first.